ask the right questions and dig to the core of yourself.
When I started this channel, I made a video on Metalocalypse and how it was my favorite Adult Swim animated show of the era. Its low-budget, over-the-top violence and story about a bunch of dunderheads traversing the world of being the Earth's most powerful economic force was compelling and fun. Sure, the show was formulaic, but the formula was good. However, it seems like they completely did away with that formula for the Metalocalypse finale movie, Army of the Doomstar. Not only did they do away with the formula, they almost did away with comedy altogether. About 45 minutes into the film, I started feeling really strange about not having laughed once. That's not to say that there weren't jokes, but they were completely overshadowed by the movie's attempts at drama. Most of what could be called jokes were simply callbacks to the show's earlier episodes and not really jokes at all. It was just, remember this? Wasn't that funny? I bet you remember how hard you laughed at Dr. Roxo 2 decades ago, right? That's right. Metalocalypse came out 2 decades ago. Let that sink in. I'm almost convinced this was made by a different team altogether, who just let Brandon Small, the series creator and composer, go wild in his pursuits of metal symbolism and badass soundtracks. But badass the soundtrack is indeed. So badass that sometimes I can't even hear what the characters are saying.
Will you be the fist or the hand? One strikes the before the other reaches out for other life.
Not being able to understand the characters in Metalocalypse has always been a problem, but it was never this bad.
Yeah, you put your face back on and travel through time.
Before, the characters were sometimes hard to understand because of their silly voices, but here they're just completely drowned out by the score. It's a really good score, but if you're gonna lean this hard into the drama, I need to be able to keep up with the story, and therefore need to be able to hear the dialogue. In Army of the Doomstar, frontman Nathan Explosion is in crisis. He's been tasked with saving the world by writing the perfect song, and he doesn't know if he can do it. Meanwhile, his fans are hounding him for new music, and he pushes them and everyone else in his life away due to a failed proposal to a woman he hardly knows. What transpires is an end-of-days drama that never really feels like it has any time to tell jokes. But possibly the strangest changes are in the animation department. Metalocalypse always had this stiff animation style that played to the show's dry, brutal, and dark humor really well. The jokes were blunt and the animation was just as so. But in Army of the Doomstar, the animation is really smooth, and sometimes I'm almost certain that they use 3D models, albeit sparingly, for in-betweens on poses. But that's not where the animation strangeness ends. Almost every special effect looks like it was drawn by an Asian studio. These effects would be right at home in Kill la Kill, and they stand out in a bad way. Stuff like this breaks immersion, and that's another bad point against you when you're trying to get me invested in the drama. But I don't really want to rant endlessly on Army of the Doomstar. If you're the type of person who really likes Metalocalypse, you'll likely find it lacking the appeal of the show outside of the music. If you're the type of person that loves Metalocalypse and just wants to see it ended, then you'll likely have a good time. But to me, it's not funny, it's not well paced, it just feels like an entire season of the show chopped down to a feature-length film, and they forgot to write any jokes somehow. I'm giving Metalocalypse Army of the Doomstar a 5 out of 10. Mediocre. Thanks for watching. Special thanks to our producers Anthony Wumbo, John Foreman, and Zachary Coroner. Happy late